Hey y'all, it's Heather from Compassion is the Secret Ingredients. And today I'm going to be making cutout cookies that are frosted with a buttercream frosting. These are also called Christmas cookies because for me and my family, for like the last 15 years, this has been our go-to holiday cookie. So whether it's Christmas or not, these cookies are sure to please. Let's go ahead and get started. Inside this bowl, I have 2 sticks of vegan butter that has been softened / melted. It doesn't really matter if you take it a little too far like I did and it got a little bit more on the melted side because it's going to live in the fridge for the next hour, so it'll be fine. So to the melted butter, add in 1/4 cup of oil. To the melted vegan butter and the oil, I'm going to go ahead and add in some energy egg replacer. So this is enough for 2 eggs. And you're going to follow the instructions in the box, but it's pretty much that you're going to need about 1 tablespoon of the energy and 4 tablespoons of some warm water. You're going to want to make that ahead of time just like I did. Set it aside and let it do its thing until you're ready for it. Add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And we are using 2 different kinds of sugar for these cookies. We're going to be using 1/2 cup of powdered sugar as well as 1/2 cup of regular sugar. Stir to combine all of our wet ingredients together, and it just comes together pretty quickly. You want to make sure that if there's any larger pieces of butter, you're squishing those, sorting those out. That way when you go to mix in the dry ingredients, it mixes evenly. Okay, so it is all mixed. It's looking good. It's smelling even better. Add to this now my flour and my salt. So we're going to need 3 cups of flour. 1, 2, and 3. Add now my 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to go ahead and mix this together. You could use a stand mixer for this, but I like to torture myself. So I'm sitting here doing it like this, even though there's a stand mixer right behind me. Okay, so my dough is coming together really nicely. I'm just going to give it a couple more turns. It's getting harder because the dough has now formed a nice solid dough. Okay, so my dough has been mixed and I am going to get it wrapped up now because it needs to chill down before we can use it for our cutout cookies. Okay, so I've got 2 sheets of plastic wrapped down. I've also went ahead and grabbed a sheet of aluminum foil. Take my dough and we're going to plop it on down, stretch it a little across the plastic wrap. Take my plastic wrap and just tuck it over and then give it a little roll. On the very ends, that's where you can grab it and give it a little twist. Now I'm going to take my foil. I like to give it the foil just because if your fridge has anything in there that's funky, and I don't know what I have in there that's funky right now, but I'm just saying if there was, we want to make sure we're preserving that beautiful flavor that we have. Okay, so with the cookie dough wrapped up in the plastic wrap and the aluminum foil, then I stick it in the fridge for 1 hour to chill up. We're going to take it out, we're going to roll them out, and then we're going to cut them out. Alexa, set a timer for 1 hour.
Set the timer, 1 hour, starting now.
Wonder what the first timer was. Okay, so my cookie dough has been chilling in the fridge for about an hour. I'm going to go ahead and unwrap it and get it laid out onto my surface with a little bit of flour. Okay, so I've got flour down on the counter. I've got my cookie dough here and I've got some flour on it as well as a little bit on my rolling pin. This is a very moist dough, so don't be afraid to add a little bit more flour to make sure that you can fully roll it out. So we are looking for about 1/2 inch thick. Okay, so my dough's been rolled out. It's about 1/2 inch thick, and now I'm going to start cutting my cookies. So my stars are all punched out and I'm removing all of the extra dough over here at the side so that I can go ahead and start to pull these cookies off the counter. The baking pan's been lined with parchment paper and you're going to want to make sure that you've either cut or folded the parchment paper to fit nicely into the pan and it's not like hung up on the sides, because if that's the case, your cookies won't bake up as flat as we need them to. These cookies do not expand, so you can put them on the baking sheet pretty close together. Okay, so I've gotten all my star cookies cut out. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to put them in the oven for about 10 minutes. And now I'm going to go ahead and rework the dough and get my rectangles cut out. Okay, so my timer just went off. Pull those out, get these ones in. When I pull the other ones out, I am going to put them onto a cooling rack. Okay, so the timer went off on the second batch of cookies. I have all the cookies now cooling on the cooling rack behind me, and I am going to go ahead and get started on the buttercream frosting. Okay, so in my bowl here, I've got 2 sticks of softened vegan butter. To that, I'm going to add vanilla. You can measure this if you want. I choose to just eyeball it. And then I'm also going to add in just a little pinch of salt. I'm going to be using a hand mixer just because it's a smaller batch of frosting, but if we were doubling the cookies and doubling the frosting, you're going to probably want to use the stand mixer. And I'm going to go ahead and turn around and do this behind me because I have no outlet on this side of the counter. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my final cup of powdered sugar here. And this is where I'm going to want to add some color to the frosting if you choose to do that. Obviously for Christmas, I would be doing Christmassy colors, but because it is the middle of August, I am choosing yellow. Add some of my food coloring in here, and then I'm going to do the final mix. Okay, so while the cookies finish cooling, I'm going to go ahead and just ensure that my buttercream is going to be the perfect consistency for when I need it by keeping it in the fridge and not in this hot kitchen that I'm in right now. Throw some plastic wrap over the top just to make sure that it doesn't form a crust or anything. Buttercream sometimes does that, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to press the plastic wrap down onto the buttercream, kind of tucking the buttercream in with the plastic wrap. Stick this into the fridge, and soon, hopefully, my cookies will be cooled and ready to decorate. Okay, so the cookies have cooled down and they are ready to be decorated. I took their cooled pans, put some fresh parchment paper on them so that I have a place to put the cookies once they're decorated. Now you can decorate these cookies however you want, but I prefer with the buttercream frosting and the more simpler shapes to just frost them with an offset spatula. And then for the complicated shapes, I like to use a piping bag. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this frosting into my piping bag here. Okay, so half of my buttercream frosting remains in the bowl, half of it is in the piping bag. I'm going to set the piping bag aside because first thing that I want to do is my rectangles. So with an offset spatula, I'm just going to go ahead and take some of my frosting and I'm going to load that up on the cookie. Don't worry, we're not keeping all of that on this cookie. Spread it across. Take that spatula and just bring it around the edges to ensure that I have a nice, clean cookie. Like that. Set this on the parchment lined pan and keep frosting. Okay, so I just finished frosting the rectangles. I went ahead and put some really fun sprinkles on. If you're looking for a really good vegan sprinkle that has vivid colors but is using natural dyes, you're going to want to check out Supernatural Sprinkles. I'll put a link in the description below. But they have some really good, really cute sprinkles that are vegan, allergen safe, and like I said, they use natural dyes. Let's get to the star cookies. Like I said, when I frost a shaped cookie, I do not want to sit there and do that same method with that intricate shape. So I prefer to use a piping bag. So if you're finding it difficult to pipe on your cookies because you're like hunched over and it just feels kind of uncomfortable, maybe you're tall like me, I'm 5'10". I do have a little tip. You can use a cake stand. I like the rotating ones because then you can spin it to decorate it and it raises them up at a level which I don't have to bend as much to decorate. And now it is time to give them a taste. It is slightly buttery, slightly sugar cookie-y. It is so good. The cookie is so soft. It's like barely cooked. And I have to say, it's giving me vibes of those really thick sugar cookies with that thick pink frosting on top. You know the ones that I'm talking about. It's kind of like that. It's really good. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed watching me make these cutout cookies, aka Christmas cookies. Take the time to make them in your own home for your loved ones. They are so delicious and are sure to be loved by anyone who loves a good, soft cookie. And remember that cooking with compassion can taste pretty damn good and look pretty damn cute too. I'll be honest, the food coloring that I used is not a brand that I normally use, and that yellow is a tinge orange. It's giving me Cheese Whiz vibes. These ones are cute. That looks straight up like I squoze out a bunch of Cheese Whiz on a cookie. But I'm vegan, so I didn't.